Welcome, everyone. My name is Donny Becker, and I'm so honored and humbled and blessed, as are most of us here, to be just another one of Tony's best friends. Knowing Tony, as we all do, I'm sure we agree that his brilliance as the master conduit has kept us connected and will keep us connected for years to come. And just as Tony's eloquence and deep thoughtfulness in his emails were never short on length, nor substance, it is perfectly apropos that our tribute today be nothing short of the same. It's for this reason that I'd like to ask all here to really settle in. Those people still standing, please find a seat. Really, there are places. It's a long program. Raise your hand if there's seats next to you. Please. It's for this reason that I'd like to ask all here to settle in and get comfortable and prepare yourselves for a beautiful, rich, and full and fitting tribute to our dearest Tony White. He and the family deserve nothing less. So let's begin by singing together a nigun, an ancient Jewish wordless melody that when chanted in a group stirs the collective soul. Join in with me and Jim and Jonathan as you pick up on the melody. Let's fill this hall together with our voices and our love. And let Tony wrap his arms around all of us. I lie, 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 try this with me. Lie, 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 lie,
Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey from birth to death to life everlasting.
There's one thing about sacred journeys. Length is not the determining factor in what makes them sacred. And while celestial bookkeeping may always elude us, we do know that lives are measured not in duration, but in how we utilize the time we have and the intensity of the lives that we live. I think every speaker who you will hear from this afternoon, while wishing for more years with Tony, will be able to reflect on the sacredness of the bonds that he created, the generosity of his spirit, the good humor that was his possession, and the caring essence of the man. For me and my family, we came to treasure his presence in our lives. When Tony's mother married my uncle, I had an instant first cousin. We were probably both 10 at the time. And so Amy and Tony, and shortly thereafter, Andy and Molly entered the family. But as the inner circle knows, and truth be told, his stepdad and my mother were not particularly close. So the delights of having first cousins didn't really appear until we were much older. And then more so than any of us, it was Tony, who felt that whatever negative chemistry was lurking between our folks didn't have to infect future generations. We could build bonds that our parents never had. And so that fondness developed even across the East Coast-West Coast divide. And I'm so happy it continues in the second cousins as they begin to establish relationships that meant the world to Tony. Who knows, maybe the third cousins too can build those bonds. This afternoon, it's an honor for me to underscore Tony's unique persona that made this possible. And it's an honor for me to give testimony to the sacred journey that was who he was. He recognized the power of relationships, and I know well that will be the theme this afternoon. It is a measure of a man, a measure of love which is stronger than death, and a measure of Tony White, who we come to honor and to celebrate and to relish with today. The poet Hannah Senish wrote, "There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memory keeps shining, ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember."
Please bear with me. I am usually able to speak easily with the crowds. It wasn't until I walked in here today that I saw what a daunting task it would be. So if I need to stop, I'll come back. Can you hear me? Because I know my voice isn't very loud.
Closer.
Closer. Okay, just raise your hand if you can't hear me. So I've been waiting for this day as if to reassure myself that once we honor, memorialize, and celebrate Tony Tieber, as I called him, he will be okay again. We will be okay again, and life will resume. I know life will never be the same, but I'm hoping that by today and having this time, that we'll be able to solidify his effect on our lives, and that the legacy he's left, that we will share the parts of him that resonate within each of us, and that we can incorporate that legacy that he has left with us, and henceforth allow him in that way to continue affecting the world. So I will not be able to carry on the parts of him that I loved the most. And that was that he was smart and funny. He just was, and that's innate, and you can't become it. We met when we were 23 as participants in a food co-op movement that was started to support the farm workers and honor their union label. It was before the food system that you often hear us talk about. Our household was involved in this co-op, and we met at Bethany, and we did the part about cutting and weighing cheese. This is just what I remember. Maybe Leonard remembers more. I met him at Bethany, where all the organization of this co-op went on, but I think he went away to law school and I went to graduate school. And when I came back, our households were full-blown into the food system. And where we really got to know each other was in the organization and creation of the Noe Valley store. Donny reminded me that we would sit in these meetings for long periods of time, and we would always listen to Tony's take on what was being said. These were long, ongoing meetings for politics of food, or organization of the food system, where the truckers went, and I was really involved, but somehow his take on things was what was interesting to me. And I think throughout his life, that's what we see, is that whether he was a crossing guard, he became the chief of the crossing guards. Whether he was on a board at our association, Rancho Navarro, our Mendocino property, he was very shortly on the board and he stayed. He didn't just join the board, he was on for several, I forget what you call them, turns, and the same thing with the Sausalito Cruising Club, whatever. This was a man who had no ego, but I think other people saw and recognized that he had an analysis of things and appreciated it. He loved to laugh, and he loved to make others laugh, and he was such a naturally funny guy. He didn't try to be, like his brothers, his brother-in-law, and now his sons, and his nephews, they would go on for days. They'd spend days on these text chains and emails, and they would just take a riff and go with it. And he would show me what they were writing, and they were hysterical. But it was just natural to him. And he could always, even when I was really mad at him, make me laugh. And that's what is such a loss. But I comfort myself by reminding me of how fortunate I've been to have had him and how much he's enriched mine and your lives. And I'll come back to that. But I have 3 things I want to leave with you. One is I want to give you an understanding of how he could leave our lives in such a flash. It's kind of the Evelyn Woods approach to dying. And I also want to share with you some things that you may not know about Tony, so you can take him more fully in your hearts. And lastly, I want to share with you all the things for which I'm grateful. So how did he duck out so quickly? here's my joke. He was an early adopter. And I want you to take the really good things about this away. So in a synopsis, he was away, as you know, on a trip. He was going to see family and friends in the East. He was going to go to one of Jonathan's son's weddings. He was going to go to another brother's son's wedding. He was visiting an uncle, and he was visiting Jordan McIntyre. And we were going to meet up at my brother's on the 4th of July. He had atrial fib just 2 days before, and then he took a 5-hour plane ride. It was a perfect storm. There's a history of his atrial fib, and sometime later I can tell you about it, but he hadn't had any in 5 years. So that time, 2 days before he went, was new. He was always adverse to taking a blood thinner, so don't bother asking. Anyhow, he had it for about 2 or 3 years, 5 years ago. It stopped when he stopped taking a statin. It just totally stopped, and his heart never went out of sync again. But I want to tell you all this. But anyhow, so he goes on the plane, and I want to leave you that he did go to the hospital those 2 days before he went on the plane, and it went back into sync. I think he even went to work that day afterwards, and then there was another day they went on a plane, and then he was fine, and then he went to Nova Scotia, and then he was driving a lot, and he started having someone he was driving. But I just want to skip through. On the last day, he wrote to me, and he said that he was fine. He hadn't had any indication of atrial fib. His heart was in sync. There were not even any PVCs, and that he was as happy as he'd ever been in his life. And that's what I want you to focus on. He was not only happy because he had seen all these relatives. He was happy because in those 3 months before, he had made all these changes. He'd stopped doing all the things he wanted to stop doing, and he'd started doing all the things he wanted to do. And we've been so proud of him for all these things. I don't know if you knew, he started exercising to make fun of me. He started, he sent me texts during the day saying he'd walked 3.5 miles that day, and he was on his way to the gym. And he stopped eating all the time that he had in his diet that he was on, and he'd lost 30 pounds. And he started meditating every morning. And he started, he always pulled everybody together. But he started sending these things he was reading that were really mindful. And he felt so good. He felt so good. And so when he left, he didn't ever suffer. He didn't even know. He thought, when Jordan always told him it's time, maybe you should go to the hospital, he just thought he was going to rule out anything. He never panicked. He was talking to the doctors in the hospital. He told them everything. So he left without any fear, any suffering, and any panic. And I think that's just really important for us to know. So I'll just leave that. I want you to know that there's going to be time for all of us to talk after the program. Things that maybe you don't know about Tony is that he had 3 parents. Jonathan let you know that. They all were in the Syracuse School of Journalism together. They were all incredible writers, as Tony was. his father that raised him since the time he was 6 was Al Abrams. And he was a politician and he ran campaigns. He was what Tony called a Rockefeller Republican and always reminded me there were no more of those. But maybe you don't know that he started Syracuse as an engineer. I'm sorry, they went to Syracuse. He started Cornell as an engineering student and he was in the Young Republicans. He told me that he was changed by 2 things, and I think other people probably know others. One was meeting the Berkeley brothers while he was at Cornell, and the other was studying Sir Thomas More, and to bring a picture of him. So this is towards the end now. You may not know either that he loved Band-Aids and flashlights and olives. He loved pickles. And, you know, he had a professional or a professorial knowledge of the stars and astronomy. And he loved to hold class of those he could captivate on a starry night. You may not know that he was also a storm chaser. And only my brother and family know that he had a sort of mania that would come out in hurricane season. You all know that he was very curious, and he was interested in a myriad of subjects, many arcane and esoteric, and you would just start nodding your head as he would send you more information. But he was an early adopter of technology. But you may not know that he really concretized that path on technology after his bout with encephalitis 30 years ago, wherein he was in a coma for almost 2 weeks. And he wasn't expected to live, but he did. And he came back, and he graced our lives for 30 years. But what he found out when he went back to work in those days at CRLA was he didn't remember his clients. He didn't remember what he had done. But because he was this early adopter of technology, he had all that information. He could turn to it. And he saw the value they had because he had it all there. He not only thought that his life's path then was to bring that technology to legal services so that they could compete with the private bar, but he looked at it as a right for those who are underserved to have that ability and access to knowledge through their attorneys. So that's how he got to do the work that he did. But more importantly, this brings me to the last part of what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for knowing Donny and knowing his love. We celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary with Jill and Donny in Santa Cruz in March, and we celebrated it by going on a march. Here in the pictures, said Monterey, it was raining, it was beautiful. And I'm grateful that he made the change to IT and devoted himself to his colleagues and those who wanted to carry on the work for legal services, teaching and serving that community, because those of you who are here from that community, you got to know him one-on-one. You got to know how funny and how smart and how clever and how curious he was. And you know what I'm missing? And I'm fortunate that he made my best friends his best friends, because you understand what I'm missing. And together, we will be able to share him forever.